Coming into this game have probably one of the more fearsome lineups on paper that you could find in the North Suburban Conference. They've got Jeremy Lane at 6'9" and 240 pounds. Mike Vance goes 6'8", and James Abrahamson, a co-captain, is also at 6'4". They've got balanced scoring. All 5 starters have led the team in scoring in one game or another. And Chuck Gunderson says that using a zone is not effective against a tall team because they've basically been able to shoot over any zone that somebody has been able to do.
31, Ryan Ashwell.
There's one. Haven't seen much of that.
Not from the guys in the gold shirts, anyway. Ashland comes up with it.
Stevens
Won't go in. Get it to Vance. How did that get in? On the floor come the Irondale Knights. Copeland, beautiful job driving inside, and Ashland's got a couple points.
Boy, I thought that could have been a travel.
Do the job that he's supposed to do. Ashland, however,
Hey, Ashland.
Ashland will come out to a big hand from the Irondale fans, and going back in will be Rocky Hansen.
And a forward for the Knights, the senior number 15, Rocky Hansen.
The foul.
First personal and first team foul. And with here in the first, 5-point lead for the Mustangs. Driving inside and sinking that one.
Hansen.
Rocky Hansen gets inside. They go to Mike Vance, who was blocked well. The shot will fall on the return from Rocky Hansen.
Nice move.
Oh, underneath, all alone, Rocky Hansen slitting to the basket. Still keeps it alive. He'll set up from three-point range. Now fires it inside to Abrams. And Stevens will go to the line.
gets the basket here in the fourth quarter to keep the game close. But Heights wins 6.
In the meantime, here's a shot from the outside by Stevens, and a three-pointer gives Irondale the lead.
Got some lucky bounces, too.
Another three-pointer by Stevens. They set up from the outside for the three-pointer, and Stevens 3 for 4. Big drive on the other end.
Wade Copeland goes end to end. Exactly agreeing with that call. I don't blame him. I think the Bance was moving.
Getting loose for the pull-up jumper is Wade. And big drive. He likes to do that and score it.
Nice looking.
All right, call off. Do it again. All right.
In the conference, you can see why tonight. Also, Monzu shot better than 75% from.
Pretty nice drive from Abramson. He's got Copeland took on most of the Mounds View Mustangs, and Abramson said, "Thank you very much." When you got it, when you're hot, you go for the rock.
Nice there, a little fade away by Abramson.
Irondale's going to need every free throw they can get.
There you see, averaging 11 points a game.
Down by Vance. Vance will put up an off-balance shot that somehow goes in. 65-6.
I've seen him.
Vance gets a chance to put it in.
Hang on, there's some sort of message. There's a nice little...
Vance trying to find some room inside. Nice push in against Sipple.
Nice drop.
Over to Lane, they try the play once again, turnaround jumper is good. Going into a diamond in one trap, that leaves Schusted alone to face the pressure of Lane, and the reverse layup will go in.
Nice move there by the big man. Poor percentage shooting is what's really going to hurt him.
Schusted and Lane sends that into the area vacated by the band, or the tuba player might have had to pull it out of the horn.
No, it didn't.
Scott, where Irondale knocked off St. Paul Central. Irondale's big man, Jeremy.
there at the line. In the t-shirt just behind Chuck Gunderson, and boy would he love to have him on the floor now.
Is that what Chuck? Is that how we're going to do it?
They said, I talked to Jill. She said do it any way you want. So we give her these ones. She said, she thought I'd like to see later on.
Yeah. Yeah, let's just have walk up. Doing it. No, but I wish we had another list of names. I got it. I got a list too. Well, it's not the same as this one. I just will show you. Let's see. I got that is. Well, no, he's right there. I don't know. Chad. Okay, Chad. I got Chad. Okay. Aaron. Troy. You guys sit up here too? I think this is us.
Testing. Can you hear me? A little louder. If I could have your attention, please, I'd like to welcome you here to the 1989-90 Irondale High School basketball banquet. Are the boys here? Oh, they're down here. I almost didn't recognize them. I don't think I've ever seen them dressed up quite as nice. Nice to have you here, fellas. You might take note of the young ladies, how nicely they're dressed, and just keep that in mind. And is Jill here? You're leading the Irondale Fight-Thon, right? No. Who's going to do that if you aren't? Mike is going to do it. No. In all seriousness, I'd like to welcome you here. Tonight's weather is a bit of a contrast as compared to last year. With the beautiful weather we're having tonight, I think it took about maybe an hour and a half to get from New Brighton to Blaine last year. We had about 7 or 8 inches of snow, for those of you who remember that event. We hope that tonight will be a lot of fun. There will be a lot of memories for those of us who have seniors who are graduating. For those of you who have 9th graders coming up, you're going to see that there's a lot of excitement about the program and a lot of things to look forward to. So enjoy your meal, and we'll start the program as soon as possible after the meal as we can. Yeah, we're going to have the invocation before we eat. Someone reminded me of that. Thank you. Leonard Lane will give the invocation.
Let's pray. Our Father, as we come to you tonight, it is with thankfulness. We have many things to be thankful for. On this occasion, as we honor our players on the basketball team and coaches, we do thank you for the many years that we have been able to enjoy their play. Thank you for the quality of young men that we've had on our team. Thank you, Lord, for the coaches that you've given us to positively teach our children how to play, and how not only to play the game of basketball, but to learn to play the game of life and to grow into men. Now, Father, as we come tonight to this occasion, we thank you for the privilege we have of gathering together. And we pray that your Holy Spirit would rest upon all that we do and say. And we pray that you would bless our food as we partake of it. We ask it in Jesus' name.
I know some of you have just gotten your dessert and are just starting to eat it, but I think we'll get on with the program because time is escaping. The next item on the agenda is Ron Abrahamson is going to come up and say a few words about the team, and the floor is all yours, Ron.
The Irondale Rouser or something here. Carol asked me about 4 or 6 weeks ago if I'd be interested in talking tonight and making a few comments on behalf of the parents of the seniors. And I said sure without hesitating, figuring that by this time we'd have a state tournament appearance that we'd be celebrating, and we'd have all kinds of really wonderful things to say about the wonderful season we had. Well, thanks to Columbia Heights, as you all know, we didn't make the state tournament. However, I still think we as parents and as the kids themselves still had a wonderful year. I think it was just absolutely great. And for those of us who are ending at the end of the line in terms of Irondale basketball after all the years in the IBA and the varsity team, it's really been a terrific 10 years here. So I really feel good about everything that's happened to us and to our kids. Looking back over our kids' IBA and Irondale careers, I got several thoughts. First of all, I can't believe it's over. For those of you who aren't quite at the end of the road yet, you'll appreciate this next year or so. It's really hard to accept that there's no more games. After all these years of driving all over town, watching kids in traveling tournaments and varsity games and junior varsity games and so on, it's really hard. Now we have to start figuring out what are we going to do with our time as parents, which is kind of a pleasant thing to have to do. It's hard to imagine that. The years went by awfully fast. Now the kids are obviously getting ready to leave, but kind of looking at the parents here tonight, those of us who are senior parents, I gotta admit, we still look pretty good, which is reassuring. Okay, secondly, in addition to not being able to believe that this is over, it's also really sad, I think, to think that it's over. Through all the watching and cheering that we've been doing, kind of wondering, it's kind of tough to let it go. We as parents, I think we're going to miss basketball a lot, but I'm sure not as much as the kids will. So, but that's kind of the second point. It's sad. However, when I sit back and think as I was driving home tonight, I'm also kind of glad that it's over. But kind of in a different way. I think thinking about Jamie in particular, but all his friends, the kids who are seniors on the team, and it's really kind of nice now looking ahead to what's going to be happening with them as they go on into college and into the rest of their life. So from that standpoint, it is kind of nice. This is kind of a transition period. The kids have really grown a lot. They've matured, and I think they're ready to move on. And I think that's really nice. As a parent, I think it's real good. They're survivors, and they made it, and they're ready. Knowing this group of kids pretty well, too, I also think that in contrast to a lot of the athletes I knew when I was in high school, playing basketball for Irondale really won't be the highlight of their life. I think it would be the first or one of many highlights of their life. I think that's kind of nice. I think the kids pretty well put basketball in perspective. I think that's really good. So I feel a little bit about that. Okay, so I'd also like to thank a lot of people for helping to make this a great year. First of all, thanks to the coaches, Chuck Anderson, Jeff Howard, and Tom Hinkey. I think you guys did just a fantastic job with the kids. You should feel real proud. I've gotten to know Chuck fairly well because we're both on the board of directors of the IBA, so we spend time together once or twice a month. I'm really grateful that the kids had a chance to play for Chuck. I think it's just been a really positive experience. I think Chuck's created a real positive environment for the kids. I think he's treated the players as adults, and he's expected them to act as adults. And I think that's been really nice for the kids. I think it's just nice watching them this year. I never saw any complaining on the floor. I never saw any whining. This is really nice. I think they conducted themselves real well. I also, as a parent, think that one of the things that Chuck has instilled in the program is kind of the right sense of values. Winning is important, but how you win and learning how to win and having the class to deserve to win, I think is also real important. And I think that's one of the things that I feel real good that Chuck has done with the program here. I feel real positive about that. I think when you look at the team, we had a really good year. I think they were playing up to the level of their ability, real consistently, and I think they were playing well as a team, and that's a real credit to the coaches. So I'm real thankful for that, so thank you to all of you. To the senior players, thanks for giving us a lot of great games this year. You had too many close games, which is kind of nerve-wracking. A couple of really exciting ones that I'll never forget is the Patrick Henry game, and then the last regular season game with Columbia Heights. The Henry game was probably one of the best high school games I've ever seen. I think the Heights game was probably one of the most exciting. So thanks to you for a great year. Best wishes to all of you as you go on to school next year. And Jeremy, congratulations to you for the scholarship you got down at Texas Tech. Also to the cheerleaders and the managers, thanks to you. I know the kids really appreciated it. For nothing but positive. I didn't get the chance to know you real well, but Jamie always had real positive comments and was real appreciative of all the things that you did. Also to Carol Vance and Jill Stevens, thanks for kind of being the orchestrators and the ringleaders for the Hoop Club this year and organizing all of the get-togethers that we've had, in particular the Banquet tonight. You guys have really done a great job. How about a round of applause for Carol? And one last comment, and then I'll get off. best wishes for a terrific season. I think you got a lot of talent, and I think you've got some great coaches to work with, so you should have just a fantastic year. Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. Thanks, Leonard, for the invocation that you gave. Now on with our program. The first thing we'd like to do tonight is to recognize the Irondale cheerleaders. And I'd like to start out with Kai, if you can come up here right now, and we'll recognize the sophomore cheerleaders.
First of all, tonight we want to thank a few groups of people. First of all, I'd like to thank the parents. This year, they're probably our most faithful fans, and for the most part, they're only fans for home games. They show up for the sophomore games. It's nice to always see when you're playing that there's somebody always up there cheering for you. I'd also like to thank the managers and actually our statisticians too this year. They did a great job. They really put in a lot of time this year. They're from almost every one of our practices, at least most of them, and they're putting a lot of time. So I'd like to thank them. They did a great job. Next of all, I'd like to have the cheerleaders come here. Cheerleaders. Cheerleaders this year for every one of our home games have nice locker signs that it's really nice to see in the mornings, and after away games they always have food and sometimes pop, which is really nice. And they were always really cheerful and really made things fun this year after the games. Coach Gutterson also has certificates for him. Last but not least, I'd like to thank Coach Hankey. This year at the start of the season, I really didn't know what to expect with Coach because he's new and everything. When he came the first day we talked to him, he really didn't make any promises. I mean, he said that he knew we had the talent and it was all up to us how far we were going to go this year. But one thing he did promise us was that we would be in the best shape of our lives, he claimed at the end of the season. Well, I got to give him credit there because I don't think there's any team this year that outran us. In the fourth quarter, we always had energy and other teams didn't. And what was really nice about this was that the way we got in shape this year didn't include pushing towels on the floors or diving at lines, which seemed to be the way Digger did things last year, which was nice, but I guess Coach did a great job this year, and thanks a lot.
Next, we have our varsity captains that are going to recognize the Irondale varsity cheerleaders.
All right, I guess I really don't know what to say since Kai has used most of my lines. But, I'd like to recognize the cheerleaders tonight. I felt that after each game, when we had pop and cookies sitting there, you know, after a tough loss, you know, we sat down, we had that, and we forgot about the game. Went on and just basically forgot about the game and most of the losses. But I'd like each one of the cheerleaders to come up when I call your name. Becky Condon, Amy Selby, Holly Fletcher, Becky Ingberg, Sarah Warnes, Melissa Enruth, and Bridget Wall. Also tonight, I'd like to thank the managers. Even though they came to some of the practices, you know, they're supposed to come to most of them. But I'd like to thank them for doing all the stats and working all this stuff. I know it's kind of hard work coming in on Saturdays or just to do the stats, but we really appreciated all your help and all your work through the season. Would Kristen Pearson and Becky Weaver come up, please?
Before I go on about the cheerleaders also, I maybe should have introduced our captains. To my immediate left is Wade Copeland and James Abrahams to his left. I'd like to take just a half a minute here to really recognize the cheerleaders for all they've done this year. I don't think I've ever been involved with a program where the cheerleaders have given so much to the basketball team. It was unbelievable. After most of our games, there were treats, there was pop. They cheered for us, whether a win or a loss. It always seemed like they were there to pep us up, and you really don't know how much that means when you're a coach and you come out, maybe if you're down by 5 at halftime or whatever, and you see smiling faces cheering Irondale High School on. It really meant a lot to us, the job that they did, and I just wanted to say I really appreciate all the work that you put in this year, girls. It just made our year go a lot smoother. Next, we have our captains back again, who are going to give us some comments, and then after they're completed, if any of the seniors would like to get up here and speak, this being their final year at Irondale, I hope. Great, not basketball ability, but great. You're more than welcome to come up here and talk.
I'll stay away from the jokes because most of them are pretty bad tonight. Well, there's a lot of people I want to thank, starting with 6th grade traveling. Dennis Coleman, Tom Copeland, and Larry Stevens did a great job for traveling for 5 or 6 years. And, and this year, Coach Henderson and Howard and Henke did a great job. It's hard coming in as a first year with the team and brand new coaches to adapt to him, new style of play, especially from last year. But I thought they did a really great job, and I think most of us feel that way, except Ash. Anyway, yeah, and all the cheerleaders, managers, and especially the parents did a great job. A lot of money to spend shoes and stuff. Pay it back. Anyway, thanks again to the coaches, and we got something for you. You got something fun for us.
Both the coaches want to come here. We got some sweatshirts for you. We also got a special present here from Mike Vance. And as you might notice, on the back of his sweatshirt is one of his favorite quotes. We know how hard Coach Howard works to be the best, so we put his idol on the back of his shirt. You see, Vance is known as the best dressed at practice. He came in Saturday with his shirt wearing, and Coach Howard told him how much he wanted, so he said, "Give it to him."
captains have already mentioned, the Irondale basketball program takes a lot of hard work by a lot of people. It not only involves myself and Jeff, the junior varsity coach, but it involves Tom, who is our sophomore coach, and it involves two fellows that I rarely get a chance to see. I talk to them over the phone once in a while, see how things are going. And those are our freshman coaches. And at this time I'd like to introduce our freshman coaches for some comments on the freshman team and some awards. Pete Friedrichsen and Andy Brown. Please come forward.
Good evening. I'm Coach Friedrichsen. This is Coach Brewer. As you can see, I only got half page here, and the introduction was half of it. So it won't take long. I just want to make a few comments about the season, and then Coach Brummer ramble on about something else. Our record, most of you probably don't follow the freshman program, except for maybe the freshman parents. Our record this year was 15-3. We ended up in a tie for first place in the conference or in the league with Fridley. And the thing you need to know about that is we beat Fridley twice during the year. So we kind of our losses, maybe you don't want to know about them, but I'll tell you about them anyway. The losses came to Mounds View twice. We were not able to beat them, but I'm sure in the years to come they will beat them. And our other loss was to White Bear Lake, the last game of the year. By the way, those two teams tied for second place with 4 losses. So they're respectable teams. We just come a little short in those games. Besides winning and losing, though, and it was kind of mentioned already here, there's more to basketball. And with this group of guys, I can remember the first day of practice, and they came in and the first thing we did was lay-ins. And probably 5 lay-ins were made from the first 24. And I looked at Coach Brummer, Coach Brummer looked at me, and we just kind of went, whoa, we got a lot of work to do. And the first game was a week down the road. We had 5 practices. When the first game came, we ended up winning, and we scored our lowest point total of the year. We probably ended up winning that by defense. As the years progressed, or as the games progressed, this group of guys improved drastically, even with the losses. With the losses, they still improved. They took those losses, and they worked on them, and we improved every game. And that's the kind of team they were, and it was a thrill to coach them. They're exciting to watch, and you got a lot to look forward to.
We had, as Coach Friedrichsen said, a fantastic season, and a lot of the reason that we had such a good season comes from the quality tradition that Irondale has always had in basketball. When I was hired here this year by Coach Gunderson, I didn't really know what that meant. And I started talking to people, and they said, well, what are you going to do this winter for a job? And I said, well, I'm one of the freshman basketball coaches at Irondale High School. Everybody looked at me in amazement. How could you get a job at Irondale High School in their basketball program? And I just, well, part of it was luck, being in the right place at the right time. But as the year went on, I learned exactly what the Irondale basketball tradition meant. From everyone that I talked to, the parents, the administration, the staff, Irondale basketball is going to keep going up and up. It started this year with Coach Gunderson setting a great example for us. He was a great leader for Coach Friedrichsen and I. Whenever we had a question, Coach Gunderson was a phone call away. First time Coach Friedrichsen looked at the playbook that we had gotten, we just went, oh my gosh. Called up Coach Gunderson. Coach Gunderson and I sat on the phone for, I think it was about an hour the first night. He explained it over the phone to me. That's the kind of coach that you gentlemen have to look forward to. Someone who's going to care about you and help you become better quality basketball players as he has done for us. We had many, when I look back at this year, I will look back at several different humorous memories and several scary memories. But most of all, it'll be great memories. Just knowing these 21 gentlemen here at these two tables has been one of the highlights of my coaching career. I know most of the kids in here from coaching football at Irondale and coaching basketball, and I tell you, I am just totally amazed at how well they're brought up and how much care that they are given at home. And that the parents, it all starts with you. And you have given Irondale a fabulous start with these freshmen right here. Right now, we've got some certificates of participation. Don't make me read these. The first two, I'm going to butcher real bad.
Just, you guys just come up and get this and we'll hand it to you and then you can sit back down.
First one is a day. Agunbadi. Agunbia day. Okay. Terry Adenu. Is that right? Okay. Why don't we hold our applause till they all come up, and that way we can speed things up a little bit. Mike Donahue, Chad Deco, Jake Eklund, then we have our big scare of the year, Mark, I am almost Air Jordan Hector. What happened was one day Coach Friedrichsen and I are sitting down in the locker room and Jake comes down and says, Coach, Mark kind of hurt himself. He's laying on the floor. I said, okay, well, that won't be up in a minute. Coach, he's not moving. Okay, so I quick ran upstairs. Coach Pete grabbed the kid, came right after me. I got 10 feet away from him, and Mark's wrist is pointed in this direction. His elbow is pointed in this direction, and he's got two breaks right in the middle of them. He tried to slam a basketball by jumping off a table, grabbed the rim, his feet went out from underneath him, fell backwards onto his arm. The most frustrating part for us was that he was a guard and a starter. Aaron Heinke, is that right? Okay. Troy Hummelgard, Mr. BBB. I hope you threw out those white shorts. He liked wearing these white soccer shorts with navy blue underwear. Joe Jacobs, he's not here. Jeff Kalar, Steve Lane, Romeo, Kirk Peterson, Bill Quick, Brian Ramsey, Jay Runquist. Todd Savy. Brian Schwaders. Scott Sweely. Jeff Swim. Jason Van Cleve. And Matt Wiggin. Some three people that we forgot to mention. Don't worry, girls, we didn't try to forget you. But our managers this year were Kelly, Shannon, Julia, and Jenny. And we have some flowers for you and some cards signed by all the guys. Without their help, we wouldn't have been able to accomplish half the things we did, just because when the balls are loose, the girls were the ones who would go get them, so Coach Pete and I would not have to worry about having the guys waste their time and our time for getting the balls. And girls, we really appreciate everything you did.
Coach Henke, Mr. Brummer used up your time, sorry.
Coach, you never got to sign.
Next on our list is our sophomore coach, and I guess just to revert back to the ninth grade coaches also, I feel I was very fortunate this year in hiring coaches. I was hired in late August. It didn't leave us much time until the basketball season came around. We were scrambling for coaches at the beginning and ran into September before we could hire coaches, and I think we had some very, very fine applicants, and we are fortunate enough to hire, I believe, very good people. One of them helps us at the sophomore level and also assists us at the varsity level. And some of you probably know him as the most quiet coach that we have. We had to stop practices because he was making too much noise on the other side of the wall a lot of times. So Kai was right. He actually did what I feel is a very, very good job with the sophomore team this year. It was a joy to see him play. It was a switch, I think, for the sophomores. We put in a style of basketball that I think we want to continue at Irondale High School, and Coach Henke helped us make that transition at the sophomore level, which will make my job a lot easier at the varsity level next year, and make Jeff's job a lot easier at the junior varsity level next year. I think he did a fantastic job for us this year. Tom Henke, come on up here, please.
All right, first off, I'd like to thank Coach Gunnarsson and Jim Pletty for giving me the opportunity to work in such a fine program as Irondale. I'd also like to thank him because he saved me about 45 minutes driving this year. I coached out at Princeton last year, and what a joy it was just to make that 10-minute trip over there. Sure saved me a lot of gas money and a lot of effort in that. The cheerleaders, I know you don't get a lot of recognition, probably mostly from the players, you know how that goes sometimes. But we thank you for, like Kai said, the cookies you brought, the pop and stuff. It was nice to come into the locker room after game and have something there to kind of just, if it was a loss or a win, it just kind of took your mind off the game and kind of brought you back down to reality. And that was a nice effort. You guys did a really nice job for us this year, so I'd like to thank you. The managers we had this year, the managers did a real nice job because I assigned them duties to do, and I think they did an excellent job with the stats. Now, the guys may not agree after they look at the season totals, but they're accurate. So, guys, I don't want to hear any complaining out of you. They're accurate. First couple games of the season, it took them a while to get into it, but after that, they did an excellent job. And it was just a pleasure to come in after a game and, here you go, girls, here's the stuff, you know, do your job, and they did a real excellent job. And without them, it probably would have added about 2 hours a night for me extra work, so I thank you guys for that. We'll get your names when we get everything going here we got, so don't worry about it. The parents. In a program like this, 18 guys out at the sophomore level, we tried to stress a positive atmosphere during practice, during games. Sometimes that's tough to do, but I think the overall attitude this year was positive. I think we had, at home-wise, you know, we had some late practices early in the season. Parents, the kids, I don't know if they told you or not, but they were thankful that they had a meal waiting home for them there. You know, they didn't have to worry about too much what they were going to eat when they got home because something was there for them. And I felt a real positive support talking to some of you throughout the season after games. You know, during the tournament stuff, we got a lot of positive feedback, and I think that's very important. I know sometimes in a sport like this with 5 guys playing, it can get frustrating, but I think overall everybody did a real nice job of supporting your kids, supporting the Irondale program, and basically just supporting a new coaching staff that we had this year. I'd really like to thank you parents a lot, because it means a lot to a program like this to have a good solid foundation at home where you are keeping your kid going through frustrating times. And it makes everybody's job a whole lot easier. It makes our job easier, it makes the kids' job easier, and it makes your life a little bit easier too. So I thank you for keeping that positive home atmosphere. I don't know if I have any good stories to tell like Andy did about the players, but like Kai said, I had the same feeling when I first met you guys. What did I get myself into? I heard all these rumors about you guys where you set some new conference or, I don't know, state record on technicals. I thought, whoa. You know, they told me this during the interview, and I thought, oh, they can't be that bad, can they? And after a good month of thinking back on it, no, it wasn't that bad. If I would have had to do this right after the season, probably would have been a different story. But I think overall we had an excellent season record-wise, and I think we had a pretty fair season attitude-wise, and a real good season in development and just personal strides during practice. We had a couple goals, and one of them was to improve yourself every day in practice. Now I know there's one kid here, is Jeff Sculthorpe here all tonight? Jeff, I think overall I would have to give you one of the most improved players awards. Even though we didn't vote on this or anything, but I think you're one kid I saw from day one. If we would have kept only 15 kids, you probably would have been cut, but at the end, you were there every practice. This is a lot of positive for Jeff, because at the end of the season, he was one of the most improved players. I mean, he worked hard in practice. He didn't see a lot of game time, but he took the practice time and he made it a plus for him. And he turned out to having better than average basketball skills just by his own personal strides and good attitude during practice. One other guy, I think that, again, we didn't vote on this, but this would have been a coach's vote. I think one of the guys that kind of typified our season was John Buxa. He started off the season, I don't know what his story. He told me his car didn't start for one game. I don't know if that's true or not. John ended up so late for the bus. He's lucky the kids were still trying to get a seat, because otherwise he would have been left at home. Ended up not starting a couple games at the beginning of the season, but as the season wore on, he was one of the players that you were there to count on every game. He didn't get a lot of points, but he was in there working hard, getting the rebounds, and just doing a fine job of keeping everybody together. I think there was one game, I don't know if it was against Elk River in Mounsey, but I think he ended up playing like the last 16 minutes of the ball game, and coming after a timeout late in the ball game, there's only 4 guys on the floor, and everybody's going, Coach, where's the 5th guy? And John's sitting back here, catching a couple extra seconds rest there. So he did a real fine job for us. Everybody else, I ain't gonna have time to mention everybody's name here because Coach is giving me the sign here, but everybody did a real nice job. It was a good, positive season on the most part. I think everybody did strive to perfect themselves, strive to make themselves better. And for the guys who didn't get a lot of playing time, I thank you guys because you did make a difference in the close ball games. There's a couple ball games where it came down to 1 point and you guys are in there cheering the guys on the floor on. And that's what a team is all about. Everybody pulling for each other. Overall, I'd just like to thank everybody who participated in the program, the parents, the cheerleaders, the managers, and especially you players. Looking forward to working with some of you guys next year as I pop up and down on the floor. And just, work hard over the summer. You guys got a good nucleus. And we're looking forward to combining with the juniors that we got coming back. Should be 2 good years of basketball coming up for Irondale. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. The next fellow we had on our staff originally hails from Indiana, and well, close relative to me. And a friend of mine who coaches at Fridley originally called me and said that he knew a fellow that was interested in a coaching position. And later Jeff called me and asked if he could interview for the position, which we did. And Coach Hankey and I think we're kind of the excitable type. And one thing that Coach Howard really helped us with is the calming influence. I don't think I've ever met a guy that can read people as well as Coach Howard. We'd sit and discuss after practices how the practice went, who was playing well, what we have to do. After games, sit and discuss again how the game went, how different players performed, how we as coaches coached that particular evening. A man who always had a great insight into what was going through each individual mind out on the court. Could always read the players very, very well. And that was a very, very good help for me this year. I really appreciate the time and effort that he put in at practices and during the games, because I think he helped me as a coach understand individuals a little bit better than I did at the beginning of the season. And now to talk a little bit about the junior varsity season and the varsity season, Coach Jeff Howard.
I too would like to thank Coach Gunderson and Irondale, Mr. Collette, for giving me an opportunity. In talking about these gentlemen right here, I didn't consider myself too much of a coach because a lot of games we have on Saturdays and there were like maybe 10 people there, maybe more. So I just kind of watched, and I can't really speak about one particular guy because I thought every last one of them played together. And I thought they were a good team. Chad and Steve Carlson were our leading scorers. All most courageous. And the rest of the guys pitched in. We had Merced and Lake who came on late. But for the most part, I enjoyed coaching because of my first year doing this, and I've always been a player. So the coaching, the X's and O's that wasn't my thing there. I just like to sit on the sideline and watch. But I get better at that. To the seniors, I would like to say, I really wish you had another year. Because coming in as new coaches, we didn't get to see a lot of you guys' true talent until later. And, we worked with you guys the best we could, and I wish you luck. Whatever you do. Banquet, we'll get that one-on-one. That's really all I have to say because I'm like an in-between coach. These guys are the head coaches and I get the grade.
I've got a lot of people to thank. Many, many thanks go out to a number of people at Irondale and in the Irondale community. It was just a fantastic year for myself. I'd like to recognize a number of people. Diane O'Husky, who was Mr. Coletti's secretary. Anytime that I had something that I needed right away, or I needed it 2 days down the road, I felt free to call Diane. She helped me right away. If she had a problem at Irondale, she called me right away. Great communicator, helped me so much in my first year. You coming in, yeah, it's basketball, but it's basketball at Irondale as opposed to other programs that you've been in. And I really appreciate, Diane, all the help that you gave me this year. The next one is Laura Johnson Tobin, our trainer. And Laura, I really appreciate, or Lana, I'm sorry. My writing is small and I'm not reading it very well. I really appreciate all that you did this year. She was at most of our practices. Any of the minor injuries that coaches in other programs would have to take time out of practice to go and treat, Lana was there to take care of it right away so you could continue on. And it was nice to have a qualified person there taking care of your sons at our practices. Jan Quick, who's our cheerleading advisor. I've already mentioned to the cheerleaders, I don't think I've met a group of finer cheerleaders, and I think that's a tribute to the person who leads that group. Just a super job. What a bunch of class young ladies. Tom Klausman, who doubled. He's our equipment manager, and he's also the scorer at our games. As equipment manager, he reminds me of some of you people, parents, if you see some uniforms floating around in drawers, hanging up anywhere, those need to be in. As a scorer, I'd just like to relate one story, I guess, and it's a tough one to relate because it unfortunately resulted in one of our losses, but as I told Tom later on, there's not a lot you can do about it. It was a St. Francis game. It was one heck of a basketball game. It's one I'll remember for a long time. It was a very, very fun game to watch for fans, and really was a fun game to coach, no matter the outcome. And up and down, and at the end it ended in a scoring error. And there was nobody after that game that felt worse when I talked to him than Tom. And they said, hey, you know, you get wrapped up, as coaches do, as players do, as parents in a close game like that, and a scorer or a timer or the announcer are no different. They're human beings just like we are. Accidents happen, and that one in particular resulted in a loss. It could have just as easily gone our way and resulted in a win that maybe we shouldn't have had. But Tom just does an outstanding job for us and does a lot of communicating and a lot of things for us as far as the uniforms and taking care of that. So as coaches, we really don't have a lot of that responsibility, which is nice. Bill Heslin, who does our announcing game in and game out, I appreciate the work that he's done. Don Bruins, who is our timer that we have all the time. People that I rely on quite a bit who are students, Chris and Becky. Anytime I had an errand to run, anytime I needed stats totaled, anything at all, a game videotaped, people to find stats. Could you find me other managers at the beginning of the year from the school, because I'm not teaching in the school. Anything I asked, these two young ladies went out to Irondale and searched the halls and found for me. And I really appreciate the job that they did this year. Jim Coletti, who's the athletic director, and Mr. Groth, who's the principal at Irondale High School, for hiring me. Any things or questions that I had coming into the Irondale program, these two gentlemen were very, very helpful. And as residents of the Irondale School District, I think that you should really be proud of the job that these two people are doing for you. Long before I got to Irondale, somebody must have done something right, because it's a program that's known throughout different coaching situations that I've been in as a very, very strong basketball school. I think one of the things that leads up to it, besides our school program, is the IBA program. And I know that our seniors, their IBA coaches here tonight. I'd like to thank him. I'd like to thank any junior high coaches that they've had, or other coaches who have helped them through the ranks. When I first came to Irondale, we had open gyms in the fall, and to see the talent and the natural athletic ability, and it just was a little bit of step ahead as far as the fundamentals of the program that I'd come from. It was so nice to see the kids that we have just do little things that are automatics, that you have to start at a young age, and you have to have repetition over and over and over at each grade level. And obviously somebody's doing something right in the Irondale program, because these group of kids, not only our seniors but our other varsity players, have those little intangibles that just give them a little bit of an edge against other teams that we play. The parents, I can't say enough about the parents. It's a tough situation to be in when you don't teach in the school and you can't leave school until 3:30, which means that we have varsity and sophomore basketball practice at 4:15 until about 6:15 to 6:30. Sometimes they probably won't get home till 7. I realize this is a dinner hour, and it's tough to have kids away from the dinner hour because they're not around the home all that long. As you know, some of you will find out as the seniors start leaving next fall for schools or different vocations. I really appreciate the job that you did this year, as evident by the young men that were in our basketball program. Nothing but class act. It was fun coming to coach these people, and that's what it's all about. The parents in the hoop club, the organizers of that appear to be, as I think tradition has it, parents of the varsity basketball players. And I think one of the things that I really appreciate them doing this year, as Ron Abrahamson has already mentioned, we had get-togethers after games at different players' homes, in the cafeteria, and I think all were invited in some of the cafeteria doings. So much is done by the parents behind the scenes, outside of the game situations, that it's tough to name all of the things that they do, but I really appreciate the cohesiveness of the group of parents this year. And I know it's tough when certain individuals are playing and others aren't, and so forth and so on, but I thought we just had a great group of parents. And I think we see the effort of that group of parents tonight in the banquet that we have here at Northwestern. I think it's just a class act. It's probably the best banquet I've been associated with. And I think that just tells you how much Irondale's basketball program and what it's all about. And again, I really appreciate all of the parents' work in this program. Next, the players. It had to be a tough year for them. And I'm not talking about wins and losses, I'm talking about adjustments that they had to make to a new coach and a new system. And I really think it shows how tough it was, especially with seniors. Juniors seem to adjust a little bit better when you put something new in. Seniors have been accustomed to doing things, they're freshmen, they're sophomore, their junior year, 3 years in a row, same thing, and then all of a sudden they come into a coach who comes in and they must wonder, what is this guy doing? This isn't what we're used to, it's change. And young people in our society have so much trouble a lot of times with change anyway. I'm sure that it was confusing to them. I know it was confusing to them at the beginning of the year. But I think the one thing that we stressed with them was patience. I think we showed that. I think we adjusted to the things that we wanted to do. I told them many times that I wish I had them another year so we could start at the beginning of next year as we finish this year. It makes so much difference, and I think we had just a talented group of seniors, and it was a very diverse group of seniors. Different games had different leading scorers. Different games had different leading rebounders. You look at the total mix of the senior group that we have who saw the majority of playing time, and each of them had a different something to add to this basketball team. Whether that be a jump shot, good defense, good rebounding, inside board work, ball handling, whatever it might have been, each added something different to make that team what it was this year. And I really appreciate the effort they put in throughout the course of this year, and I totally understand the adjustment that they had to make with the new coach coming in. There were some highlights and some lowlights this year. If you look at the games, I think for the most part, if I can erase the Edina game out of my memory, because that's what I want to right now, it put a big wonder in me, are we doing this correctly? You know, to go out and lose by 30 points in your first basketball game at Irondale is no fun. But it's a credit to these young men who hung in there. They didn't hang their heads. I know the pressure was on them because that's where the former coach is right now, so there's a lot of intangibles that go into that. But they came out and obviously had a good string of things and obviously put things together in the course of the next few games and played some fantastic basketball against, really, if you look at it, some of the tougher teams in the metro area. And like Ron said, games that stick out in my mind are the St. Paul Central game and things like the Highland Park game. And even though losses, you look at the 2 St. Francis games, or the closeness of the Columbia Heights game. And those are the highlights. And I don't know, I say lowlights because I think I was competitors. You look at wins, and I don't think competitors really enjoy losing. It's something that you have to accept, but it's nothing you really enjoy at the time. You reflect upon it when you're done, but it's something that's tough to handle in the immediate situation. But I think every game we were competitive in. Some games we were sky high for and played real well and won, and some of those we lost, and some we didn't play very well and maybe squeaked some out and lost some of those also. But over the course of the year, gentlemen, I think you did a fantastic job, and I appreciate the adjustment that you made. You made it a very, very smooth transition here from coach to coach. I realize we probably didn't reach some of the goals that you probably had at the beginning of the season, but in my mind we did a lot of nice things. Some of you I've had a chance to talk to personally, and some I haven't had a chance to talk to personally, but I'd just like to take a little bit more of your time and talk to about what I think the Irondale basketball program is all about and what these young gentlemen in front of me add to that program. I think John Wooden sums it up best when, and some of you have maybe heard him on TV lately a number of times when he describes success. And just to reiterate what he believes is that the peace of mind which is a direct result of self-satisfaction and knowing you did your best to become the best that you're capable of becoming. And that's what I guess I try to instill. I'm competitive, I like wins, but that's off to the side a little bit. You got to think success. And gentlemen, as I look out and you go on your different endeavors after this year, you have to ask yourself, and only you know if you were a success this year or not. And I urge you not to only look at the win and loss category. Look at what you contributed to the Irondale basketball program. I think what I tried to impart and what I'll try to impart on people coming through the Irondale basketball program are 5 important things. Industriousness, which to me, and I tried to impart on the gentleman in front of you here, is the work ethic and self-discipline that is needed to become a good basketball player. Enthusiasm. We wanted a spirit and a love for the game. And I think we gained a little bit of that, and I hope it only gets better this year, or in the coming years. Conditioning. Not only physical, but mental and moral conditioning. We want a class act, and I know I've mentioned to the guys before, we always want to act classy, be top-notch. Fundamentals. Fundamentals are sometimes monotonous, and they're sometimes tedious, but they're so essential to the game of basketball. It's important, and if I can, any of you furthering your careers in basketball, whether it be our seniors who are leaving us or the people in our program, it's so essential to practice these fundamentals. Last thing is team spirit. This is a fine line, and I think team spirit is the thing that actually makes a team, whether it's a good basketball team skill-wise or a poor basketball team, is team spirit. It's that the chemistry between teammates has to develop. Now we can try to get that as coaches, but a lot of times it's tough. That's something that the kids themselves, they got to be friends, and they have to have that chemistry. It's so important, and we try to get that. At times it's also difficult. Again, gentlemen, especially the seniors, I thank you again for just a fantastic year. I really appreciate all the work you put in. You give me a lot of highlights and a lot of memories that I'll recall, and when I look at videotapes of games such as the Patrick Henry game or the St. Francis game, I'll remember. And I end with a funny. I hope you all got the clue this year. Carry it with you. What we have now is certificates of participation for our sophomore and varsity players. We have varsity letters and some special recognition awards. Tom, could you come up here at this time and help me hand out your sophomore?
First of all, managers, we don't have your certificates here tonight, but we will recognize you. So when I call your name, just please stand up at your table. Again, hold the applause to all 4 announced The first one, Heidi Jacobson, Denise Chandler, Nancy Peterson, and Sachi Yoshino. That's the pronunciation, Kai. First one is Ross here tonight, Ross Comer. Jeff Sculthorpe. Eric Fritz. Jeff, I will pronounce this correct tonight. Jeff Pellant. He's been Peelant all season. Dave Lance. Jason Pass. Alias the Joker. Hunter Johnson. Brad Engen. I don't know which way I should pronounce this one, but William Ashley, alias Dwayne. By the way, anybody got an open room next year? Rumor has it Dwayne's leaving the school district and we'd like to keep him around for a couple years. Kevin Cullivar. Probably butchered that one. Coulivar. Kyle Pekka. Steve Henches. John Buxa, alias Bucky. Kai Saxtra. Greg Wharton. Gordy Hansen. Troy Gunderman. And Brian Deco. And that's your next year's varsity team coming up.
Certificates of participation for the varsity. Paul Binger. Andy Beck. Steve Carlson. Jason Mon. Becky Weaver. Becky was one of our managers. We had two statisticians. I don't know if they're here tonight or not, but I'd just like to mention their names, Brian Cooper and Doug Mance. Appreciate the work that they've done. Our junior letter winners, Tom Lake. Mike Merced. Chad, the chief. Chad gets one. And our manager, Chris Peterson. Our senior letter winners, James Abrahamson, Ryan Ashland, Wade Copeland, Rocky Hansen, Jeremy Lane, Adam Stevens, Mike Vance. We also have some special recognition awards. First, I'd like to award the All-Conference Honorable Mention. All-Conference Honorable Mention for Mike Vance. Adam Stevens. Jeremy Lane. Wade Copeland. We had one all-conference player this year as voted on by the coaches in North Suburban, James Abrahamson. We have two other special awards that we'd like to give out. They're similar when you go to recognize them and the qualities that it takes to get these awards. The first one I'd like to give out is the Most Improved Player Award. And it doesn't necessarily show up in the box score, but if you're with us throughout all the practices that we have, and you see the improvement that a gentleman like we're going to introduce makes throughout the course of the year, it's really pleasing to see a guy come so far. And from where he started and where he finished was just an unbelievable progress that he had. I hope he doesn't mind us sharing the story, but as coaches will, they'll talk in the locker room amongst themselves. How's it going, like I've already mentioned. And this was a gentleman that was just right on the edge at the beginning of the season. We were wondering about his basketball skills. We were wondering about quickness. We were wondering about shooting ability. We were wondering, could he play defense? Could he make it on the Irondale varsity team? And throughout the course of the year in the practices and the junior varsity games that this gentleman played, he certainly proved it to a number of us. And we feel that he was our most improved player this year, and that's Andy Beck. Next award that we give out is our Most Valuable Player Award. And I think deserves the following consideration when you're talking about it. It might not be the person who has the best stats on your team, but it's one who shows respect, cares about others on the team, and everybody is worthwhile and helps everybody out. He has an understanding of the game of basketball, and he's aware of the things that his coach wants to accomplish and that he as an individual wants to accomplish. He shows responsibility. Others can depend upon him. He makes good choices. He can be trusted. He has a self-discipline, which controls his actions, makes great choices. And he also is a very good basketball player. And this year's most valuable player at Irondale goes to James Abrahamson. In closing, Wade has reminded me that the seniors have put together a video of the highlights of this year. You're more than welcome at the end after we're finished here to stay and watch if you'd like. I also have some Irondale Knights basketball booklets that I put together for the varsity that you're more than welcome to take, taking articles from the Minneapolis paper, the St. Paul paper, the two local papers, both in focus, along with our scoring stats, our league finish, and other information in there. In closing, I'd just like to say thanks again for everybody who's been involved for, as Ron says, so many years as the senior parents, for being involved with Irondale basketball. For those of you that have freshmen and sophomores and juniors, we hope to see you back again next year. Thanks for making my very first year a real memorable one here at Irondale. I thank you very much, and see you next fall.
Wait just a second. Thanks.